right, game tight, elevate your mind sight. These interviews will ignite your insight. Take notice of the lessons we learned. Why? So you can focus on shining your light bright. We share our greatness and we're courageous. Listen closely because it is contagious. Hit the subscribe, the show's worldwide. Keep an open mind and treasure yourself to shine. Everybody to another edition of the Mind Right Game Tight Show. I'm your host, Michelle Morgan. I'm a transformational sports coach, which means I work with student athletes on the mental mindset of sports and in life. I'm also the founder of the nonprofit Vida Esoro. Vida Esoro is dedicated to empowering our young adults utilizing the Mind Right Game Tight program, which consists of 2 books that I wrote, How You Triumph in Sports, Tools That Create a Triumph in Life, the book and the workbook. So the book has all the fundamental knowledge going over different life skills that we're learning while playing sports. And the workbook has the exercises that we cover because we got to be able to apply what we learn because that is where the power lies. For more information, please go to www.vidasoto.org. Also, if you have any questions, we are live. Please go to mindrightgametype.com to ask any questions live to our guest today. And I want to go ahead and introduce our guest. Our guest today is Melissa Gutierrez-Jimenez, was raised in Ventura since the age of 5. She started to take interest in basketball around the age of 7 when she would see her 2 older brothers play. She started to compete competitively at the age of 8 years old up until the age of 21 years old. Melissa played for various club basketball teams, Ventura High School, where she aided in winning a CIF title in 2002. Moved on to play at Santa Barbara City College, where she was an all-conference 2 years in a row, and ended her basketball career playing for the Division II Cal State Monterey Bay. During her playing days at the higher education level, Melissa was able to earn her bachelor's degree in kinesiology from Cal State Northridge and her master's from Fresno Pacific University in physical education. Melissa Gutierrez, also known as Coach G, has coaching experience as well. She was the assistant women's basketball coach at Santa Barbara City College for over 8 years under head coach Sandrine Krull, and was able to help mentor several student athletes with their academic and athletic performance. Melissa Gutierrez currently is a health kinesiology educator at both Oxnard College and Cal State Channel Islands, where she teaches several classes in health sciences, health education, and physical education. Her main focus as a health educator is to teach from a holistic approach and to motivate individuals to establish a healthy lifestyle to help them enjoy the process of being healthy. Melissa also runs an academic student athlete success program at Oxnard College, where she assists with student athletes by helping them fine-tune their academic skills. She currently resides in Ventura with her husband, Daniel, a former college basketball player at Santa Barbara City College, and their 3 children, Gavin, Isabella, and Emery. During her free time, she loves to work out, spin on her Peloton, go to the beach, and go to Disneyland. I love it. So that means we got a lot to talk about today, which makes me really excited to kind of dive deep more and learn a lot about you. So starting off, you said you started playing basketball early on. Was playing basketball or playing in college a goal of yours?
You know what? Since I was younger, I knew I wanted to play some sport in college. I also played soccer as well. So those, when you get to high school, they're in the both seasons, so you kind of have to pick and choose. But I didn't really understand what the levels were like City College, Division I, Division II, Division III, until I would say probably my senior year in high school when it became a realization that I could actually do it. So yeah.
And then what were okay, so while you were pursuing that and you thought about it when you got to high school, what did that look like for you? Were you already starting to practice more, or how did you see yourself achieving that goal of yours?
So I did practice more. I ended up getting personally trained by a really good mentor of mine. She was a former coach at Ventura College. I started to take it a little bit serious. When people told me you could play at this next level, whether it was D3, D2, or City College, I was like, really, I can. So I started to put the extra practice in, and started to train on the weekends on my own, or shooting hoops outside, which is, you don't see that very often these days. So I put a little bit more work than from the practice of like 2 and 4. Because I was like, okay, like if I put a little bit more effort, like I know that I could do this. I don't think it was a real hard realization for me until my senior year in high school, my last high school game, when I had my city college coach actually come to me and say, like, you are good enough to play for me. Like, and here's an opportunity, and I think that you would do well in my program. And then that was like a, ooh, aha moment. I was like, okay. And then even when I played at City College, like I always did the extra. You know, I was still training on my own with my own personal trainer, just so that I can get better, so I could get that scholarship to play at the next level.
And when you were in high school, were there any like challenges that you faced while in high school that kind of helped you develop as to when you got to play in college?
Are you talking? Yeah, more. I would say more athletically and academically.
Mm,
I would say athletic wise, um, I had a pretty good high school experience. I would say like towards the end, it kind of left a sour taste. But I, I, I would say I had to learn that I couldn't take, that I also had to give. And I
mm,
learned that at City College in order to like, to really become successful. Do you know what I mean? Like that it's a two-way street between coach and an athlete type of relationship. Because when I was in high school, I didn't get that. It was a lot of take on both ends. Like how can you play better for me so we can
mm,
win games, right? And not
mhm,
really understanding who I was. And so when I met my city college coach, we established a relationship where she was like, you can't just take. You got to give too. And
mm,
this is a partnership. So not having that in high school, not understanding what a partnership was between a coach and a student athlete, I think it challenged me, but it also bettered me to understand, okay, like I have to value this coach and the student relationship going into the city college, because I actually have a coach that really does care, not just my athletic ability, but me as a person. She wants me to be successful, not just on the court to win her games, but also to be successful in the classroom, have actual career goals and things like that.
mm,
I would also say that I was also a minority in the area that I live in too, so there was some struggles with that as well. And always just, I think I was always striving to show everybody like, yes, I can, I am better. Like I do have self-worth to be on this team, and my spot. So I felt like I was always trying to prove people, you know what I mean? And then when I got to City College, it was like my head coach was like, hey, like we know you're good. You don't gotta prove anything. You gotta be yourself. You gotta be authentic to who you are. And I'm like, oh, like I don't even, who am I? Like, you know, those are the questions you start
yeah.
asking yourself when you're 18. Um, Academically, I would say in high school, I struggled. But then when I got to City College, that's why the best decision was for me to go to City College, because I learned from those struggles that I couldn't repeat what I was doing in high school into the college level academically, because you really have to be eligible even more and make sure you have your transferable units. So it's a whole different ball game that I had to learn, that I just didn't have to have like a 2.0. Like you got to make sure you pass your classes and transfer over, you know, for the next semester on and to be eligible. So so there was lots of struggles in high school. Again, I think when you're growing up, it's, especially at that age, it's like it's me, like what can I get out of it? And so I had to change my mindset, and I had to grow up. But yeah, definitely some challenges. I don't think I would change it, because it definitely helped me persevere and get to where I'm at today. But going my freshman year into Santa Barbara City College, I still struggled. I had trust issues with coaches.
Mm,
That was really hard. And like I said, I had a head coach that was like, let me coach you, be
mm,
coachable, you know? And it's like, well, no, like I kind of been on my own doing my own thing, because I was always trying to prove to everybody that like I'm worthy to be here, you know? And she's like, let me in. And then I did. And man, I felt like I had a lot of success. It was a huge eye-opening experience for me my freshman year.
So, like, there's a lot of different things that you mentioned, like during this, like what you were saying, even like just all you said, like about high school. So, like, even going back to, like being a like a minority in your community, And, you know, we can all, there may be somebody out there who has experienced that as well. I've experienced that when in junior college for sure. So like, how did you kind of like adapt, or when did you finally like be able to like adapt to that in high school, or was it when you got to college, like you're saying you were trying to prove yourself in that sense?
I would say I continuously tried to prove myself all the way to my senior year. Um, I
In
have
high
a
school.
in high school. I had a I have a really great support system. I have a amazing father and mother that really, helped guide me. My dad was one of the first generations to go to college and get his degree, and so he wanted for his children the same type of successes and the same type of opportunities. And so growing up, especially during that time of high school, my mom and my dad were the type of parents that like once you start something, you finish it. And
Hmm.
so that was that mentality. It was like, I don't care if you're going through your struggles, it will make you stronger later on in life because you will hit adversity and you will understand that when you're in your careers and you're going for a job and academically. So the best thing is for you to learn it now. My parents weren't helicopter parents, so
Hmm.
they let me go through it, but they helped me guide it by using my words. Um, and so I think that strength that was developed in me, I learned this later on, like my freshman year in college was like a motto we go by, Michelle, you probably know what it is too, is like mental toughness, extra effort, right? I
Hmm.
honestly didn't know I had an internal mental toughness until my freshman year, but I actually had that my whole entire high school career because I kept trying to push myself to prove to everybody like I am here for a reason and I can play with these, I can play at this level. You know what I mean? Um, so I guess that internal motivation that I had, because I'm a competitor. I like to
Hmm.
compete, even when I'm on that Peloton bike and I'm competing against 100 other people. I'm like, I need to be in the top 200. Like, it's just that inner drive, as all of us athletes have. We have some type of inner drive. And so for me through high school, it was like, oh, I'm not going to quit because you said your remarks or you're trying to put me in my place because I'm a minority. Oh, you can't keep me in a square. It's not going to
Mm.
happen. So, and I wanted to prove to them wrong as I went and played at the next levels. To me, that was kind of like like I'm fully capable. I was fully capable. So, so yeah, I would say having that support system and that internal motivation that I had developed over the years kind of helped me through this. Um, but yeah, being a minority in the area that I was with was it was challenging. But I supported myself with people in my circle that were gonna tell me the truth, be
Mhm.
real with me, not helicopter parent me, and to help me push through it.
And like, what would be your advice to someone who may be experiencing something like that, or if someone watches this in the future and is like, "Oh man, I'm going through that same thing," or I feel like maybe like I don't fit in, or I don't see someone who looks like me, whatever that looks like for them. What would be your advice to them?
I would say to first of all is have a true conversation of like what do you value and what do you stand for, and having some goals. And so those were conversations that me and my parents had all the time as I was going through these transitions and I stood out or I just didn't fit in. Like my parents would always go back to me like, well, who are you? Like, what do you stand for? Like, what's your purpose? And I think learning that kind of at a young age and having certain values and knowing who you are can it can really assist and continue to help stay on that path that you're directed towards, whatever goals maybe, because you can get so sidetracked, right? Like, or I don't fit in, or they don't believe what I believe, or I don't look like that person. But okay, oh wait, like I do have my values. Let me get back on track to where I need to go.
Hmm.
So I did have goals. Like growing up, I had set some goals at a very young age. I would say like my sophomore year, I had a great conversation with one of my mentors who was my shooting coach. And she's like, where do you want to go? What do you want to do? And I was like, oh, no one's ever really asked me that question before besides my parents. And so staying true to yourself and understanding like, again, what do you value? What are your goals? And always reflecting back to that, you know,
Hmm.
to stay
Yeah.
true to yourself. Because there's so much outside noise right now and it makes you question, right? Like I can't even imagine what it's like now growing up with more of the social media and all those influences. Um, but staying true to yourself.
Yeah, that's so important. And even if you feel, not speaking directly to you, just in general, like even if you feel like I don't have that support within my home, try to look for like a teacher or a coach or a mentor or
Yes.
someone that you can trust in who you can share that with. And maybe if you're still on that journey of finding someone who you can share that with, open up a notebook and share that, putting your pen to paper and putting your thoughts out there, because you always want to come back to, like you said, your goals and your vision, and what are your values for yourself and when you're looking towards, because sometimes when we keep it in our head, it kind of just stays there with all the other stuff that's going on, and sometimes we
Yeah.
need that reminder to go back to and write that down and read that, so as our remembrance for ourselves, as we gather our circle of support, that I like to say, that is going to continue to empower us and remind us of exactly who we are. So thank you for sharing that, Melissa. And then you
Yeah.
also mentioned partnerships, like the give and take, not necessarily the
Mhm.
take. So if I'm
Yeah.
a high school student and I'm getting ready to look to college, and now that I'm hearing this, I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Like, what about the give and take? Because as I now get to this next level of high school, like I got to pick a major, and things start to shift, because maybe I may not play sports forever, forever, right? So I have to
Yeah.
start to maybe shift and have ideas and have support. So, what are some questions that you see are good questions as the student athlete looking to go to a school? Like, what questions should they be asking, potential coaches or even those players at those schools, to kind of give an idea of like, does this meet and fit my vision and my values and my goals as to what I want for myself?
God, I think that's like so important. I think that so these are the types of questions I would ask, but first I would also make sure, like going back to our goals, like what are the goals that we have set for ourselves, academic and career wise, right? Because you had mentioned, for me, basketball stopped at like 21, 22. So like, what was I gonna do? You know what I mean? And those are serious conversations to have, because now you're an adult, right? So the questions to ask is first is like, do you have my interest at this school? What are type of majors or departments that can help influence my decision, or my decision on my major? The second thing I think is really important, that I think student athletes kind of overlook, because we're all about like play, win, right? Games. Um, and when we go on recruit trips, we talk about practice schedules and training and all this stuff. But another thing we need to be asking our student athletes is, what type of student services do I
Mm.
have access to on this campus? Mental health student services, the health center, things from EOPS to financial aid, all of those aspects, academic, social, as well as the essential needs of what a student athlete needs, make up the foundation and support of what a student athlete needs to entail in order to be successful. It's not just the training times and the practice facilities and the amazing equipment and the awesome gear. We all love the gear, right? But it's also what services on your campus are going to support me to be academically and social and even socially successful. See, those are the types of questions to ask. A lot of things that I see with my student athletes that are coming in is, some of them are just aware of the simple services on campus that they have access to completely free. Well, not free,
Mm.
it's part of their tuition, right? Because you pay the student service fee. And so they're like, what? Like, I can get online tutoring through Zoom? I'm like, yeah, like, dude, like, I wish online database library, like, what? Like, we used to have to go to the library and like check out books, remember? Like, it's simple things like that that the student athlete should be asking. Another thing is too, is the mental health. So it, like we were talking about, it's like a take type of relationship, where it needs to be a give and take. It needs to be a partnership between the coach and the student athlete. The student athlete needs to know, okay, what is my game schedule like? What is my practice schedule like? Do we have downtime? Do we have team bonding time? When do I have self-care time? Because it's a big issue amongst our Division One, Division Two student athletes with their mental health, especially the hit with this pandemic. And it's they got to take care of themselves mentally before they can be the best athlete that they can be. And so that's another question to ask, the head coach or whoever's recruiting you. How do you promote self-care as well as mental health care? Because, being away from home for the first time, right? Or even commuting, or the demands of practice and two-a-days and all that stuff. Like, I've been there. Like, when I transitioned to Cal State Monterey Bay at Division II, it was a whole other level. And there at that time, mental health, nobody really talked about mental health that much. And I was drained. I was physically and I was emotionally drained, and I was homesick, and I didn't know, like, who do I talk to? Usually just go to your coaches, right? But who else? What other services are on campus? So those are the type of questions to ask and see if it's the best fit for you. And to even be comfortable asking the head coaches and the assistant, like, what do you value? Like, where do you see the direction of our team going and within this season? What are some goals that you have set for the new, this new team coming in? And have those conversations, be comfortable to have those conversations. And if you feel comfortable having those conversations with those coaches or that recruiter, then it might be a good place for you, because you've opened up a line of communication. I think that's the hardest thing is when I was coaching for several years, it's like, it's hard to read a student athlete unless they come in and they talk to you. I had an open door policy. So you never knew. It was always a guessing game. So creating that great line of communication right from the start is going to bring a lot of success for you, athletically and academically.
Woo! I'm glad this is recorded, because these are some great gems that you're throwing out there. So, because this is the stuff that you just mentioned. Like, you got to get your notebook out and like ask word for word, like play, pause, exactly everything that you said, because these are amazing questions that you just shared, and being able to utilize the full resources that are available to us. I think that is so important. Is like, we just think, like you said, like sports and okay, I have my classes, but then what happens on the outside that actually supports me in helping me grow and being a better person academically, athletically, and then myself outside of academic and sports as well. So I think that's so important. And you mentioned EOPS. What does that acronym stand for? Just so in case someone's watching, they're like, what?
So it's equal, I believe, EOPS. It's equal opportunity, and then the P is program. So if you qualify for a certain amount of financial aid, you can also qualify for EOPS, which they can assist you with additional resources, help you aid with your books, financial aid with your books, and any other. I even think like a technology. There's like a grant for that could help assist with like purchasing laptops now. And we have a great EOPS on our campus at Oxnard College, and we actually even have our own counseling advisors for EOPS students. And I think I would always check in with your financial aid advisor and just ask that question. That's a great question to ask too. Is like, do I qualify for EOPS? Because sometimes you just never know unless you ask. And then something that you were saying is, you were saying like when we go to play for college, it's usually you get your classes and it's academic, right? And then that's it. And I really feel like student athletes are a special population on campuses, because we have the hardest job. And Michelle, you know how it was. Like, we were in class, we were working, we were going to 2-a-days, like we had games on weekends, we had 3-day tournaments, and then we still had to study. And so it's a lot. And so I also feel like a lot of maybe faculty and people on campuses don't know how hard it is for a student athlete versus the general population of the demands. And so I feel at times student athletes have had a stigma over their head, like, well, they're just athletes, like they just play sports. And it's just like, no, like, we go to school full time, we got to get good grades, we have to make sure we're eligible, we work, most majority of my student athletes at Oxnard College, they work full-time jobs. And and I like to say they are a special population because it's double the work than a regular a regular college student, I would say. So my goal is always to kind of like break that type of stigma. Like, they're just not athletes, like they're more than that, like they're doing double whatever a college student is doing that's just going to school and going to work. And so that's something that we're really trying to create at Oxnard, is that athletes is a special population, and it's hard to be one.
Yeah, and I think it's important, like what you're saying is like understanding as a student athlete that you have the resources. And one of the most important things is like what you said too, is like being able to feel comfortable to ask your coaches about these questions and about these resources. And like, it's okay to use these resources if I need them too as well, right? So I feel like everything that you covered, and you kind of get a sense, and those are such important questions because they're not necessarily like sports based. It's people based. And you're a person. We are people at the end of the day, right? That's who we are. It's just I play basketball, or I play soccer, or whatever it is. Those are things that I do. So it's like going back to like your values and, you know, what do you value and what do you want to do? Because not everybody who plays, like even at the college level, they're like, I just want to keep playing, but I'm not want to play it like after college, right? So everybody's goals are different, and making sure that it supports your goals as well. And going back to like you transitioning to Santa Barbara City College and going back to trust issues with like your coach.
Yeah.
How did you let that wall break down to allow your coach
down.
to come in? Like, what was that like for you to allow that? And why did you choose Santa Barbara City College? And then moving forward, like, what was there an experience that you had where that conversation had to come between you and Sandrine, where it was like, this is going to be a give and take, not take. And then I guess my third part to the question is, like, how did you allow the wall to just crumble?
I had no choice, Michelle. That's what basically was.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, so I had trust issues, and Sandrine and I, we are very close to this day. I mean, we are very close. And I came out of high school like you know, we're young adults. We think we know it all. We got our together. We've all been there. God, those were the fun times, right? But I came in with an attitude because I had a sour taste from high school. So I came in like, you're not gonna put me in my place. You're not gonna tell me what to do. I'm gonna do it my way, because it didn't work out in high school. And if you want me to play for you, like, you need me more than I need you type of, that's how I came in. Very arrogant. And
But you still chose to go to that school knowing that you were like, I know you need me. Was there a piece of you that felt like, I'm choosing this school because I feel like you need me, and that helped you feel better?
I don't know, because I was already going to Santa Barbara City College for school.
Okay.
And so my basketball trainer was like, I was at the beach and it was like a summer day, and she was like, you need to get yourself up to Santa Barbara for their open gym. And I'm like, why? Like, I don't know if I'm going to play. Like, I was at that vibe. And there is I don't know if you talk about it in your show, but there's a burnout, right? We all get burnout with our sports sometimes, especially if we don't feel valued and we don't feel respected. Like, I was already burned out at that point. And I was like, I'm at the beach hanging out in 90-degree weather. Do you want me to drive myself to Santa Barbara? And she's like, get your shoes. There's the head coach. You met her one time at the last of your game, and I want you to play for her. And I'm like, whatever. So I walk in and I meet Sandrine Cruel. And she's like, so motivating. Like, welcome, hey, like, MTXE. And I'm like, this should not be well. Like, this is just an overview, just trying to get me to play for her, right? This is just a show. Yeah. And girl, she's still the same as I met her over 19 years ago. She is still motivating, and so I met her, and she was like, well, if you're already coming here to school, like, we would love for you to play for us. And, I only have so and so many on my team. And so I'm like, okay, like, she needs me. Like, she needs me. She doesn't have that many on her team. So I'm going to be the star. Like, because I was just over it. And so, are you still there?
Okay, I'm here.
Okay. So so going in, starting school, going to practice, I would always be on time. I would be on time. And she'd be like, if you're early, you're on time. And if you're on time, you're late. And if you're late, don't show up. Uh-huh. And I would always be on time. And so I wasn't taking it serious. I was just like, whatever, right? Like, and not taking it serious means like I was working too a lot. I was doing this job at a restaurant. I was commuting. And like many college students, you socialize and, you're social and you should be socialing like that. And you're not prioritizing, right? And I didn't know what it meant to be a collegiate athlete. I was just an athlete. So she, and I knew I was good. I knew I was like one of the best people on the team. Like she couldn't afford to lose me. So she told me talk about it all the time. And she sits me down in her office. She brings me in, and she's like, "Do you want to be successful, or do you just want to work a dead-end job where you're at now, or do you want true success?" And I was like, what? Like, where is this coming from? Like, I didn't know what she was talking about. And she's like, I see everything and I know everything. When your coaches tell you they know everything, they know everything. And she was like, the road you're going down, it's going to lead you nowhere. And you'll be maybe here for more than 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years. And you'll be working a job that you don't, because she's thinking long-term, right? And I'm just thinking now because I'm 18. And she was like, you need to let me in. And if you don't, there's the door and you can go. And I'm like, I'm the best shooter on this team. Like, what are you talking about? I can go. Like, huh? And she didn't stop there. She broke down that wall, and that was one of my hardest practices ever in my life. I mean, mistake I ran. Like, I mean, she was on me. And I kind of like built off that. It was weird. So as I was driving home, I was pissed. I was upset. Like, I was like, I'm not going to play for her. I'm not going to be screwed over again by a head coach that doesn't care for me. And I got home, and again, I have a really great support system. I'm upset, telling my parents, I don't want to play for her. She doesn't even know who I am. And she was like, my parents were like, no, you're going to get back in your car and you're going to go back to practice, because when we start something, we finish something. And she does care for you. They call me G. So they're like, she does care for you, Melissa. She brought you in her office and sat you down and gave you these options. It's an opportunity. So what are you going to do with it? And I was like, oh, I didn't even think of it like that. I thought she was attacking me personally, she wasn't. And from there, I was like, oh, okay, Dad, you said opportunity. No one's really given me opportunity. No one's ever told me, what path do you want to go on? Besides my parents. So I came back and I started to just bring that chill down. And then she started giving me more responsibilities. Okay. So now she's giving me responsibilities with my team. I'm giving it back to her. We're now developing this great line of communication. And now it's not me just take. It's a love, take, good, give type of relationship. And we didn't talk about that situation until 4 years after I played with her. And I was like, I hated you.
Yeah.
But that was like an aha moment. I was like, okay, I'm 18. And my dad's like, well, where do you want to be at? She's right. You're not going down the right path. Do you want to be successful? And I was like, because time goes by so fast, right? It goes by so quick. And then you're an adult, and then you're in your 30s, and life happens, and and so it was an opportunity. And I was like, I think I'm gonna take advantage of it. I'm gonna see where it's gonna lead me. And then it led me to so much. It led me to a mentorship with her. And going back to what you were saying is having your circle or your support system. I would say at a young age, I wish I knew what mentorship was, and I wish I had more of a mentor. I had some growing up, but really one person. I wish I met Sandra Poole in high school. Oh my God, right? So is having a mentor, whether it is a coach or a teacher or even a family member or a friend of a friend, it can help you in so many ways. And so opportunity. She gave me an opportunity, and I was like, oh, that's never happened to me. I've always had to prove myself. But okay, let's build off that.
Yeah. It sounds like I love your story because it's all the animation and definitely what it took for you to drive back, home all, upset and ready to just throw in the towel. What do you mean she's not seeing how great I am, you know?
Yeah.
And then like having like your parents like say like you got to get back in your car, and then of course like moving forward you saw like the opportunity that was really presenting itself, and someone that cared for you and was looking beyond 18-year-old Melissa on this particular day and time, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think that is so amazing. And then you continue to take that on, and you continue playing basketball at Cal State Monterey Bay. What made you choose to go to Cal State Monterey Bay? You like the water.
I love the water. I'm a water. Like I've been, you know, you love the water too. You're close to it still. So like we, you know, my kids love the water. And I want it to be by the ocean still. I had opportunity to play down at Laverne as well. I even went out to play a couple times, like pick up with Cal State San Bernardino. My family's from the Inland Empire. So that was another choice because I have a lot of family down there. But Monterey I thought it was a great opportunity. I actually had a really great friend of mine. We're still very best friends to this day. She played at BC. And so we both got asked to play at Cal State. We played high school together at Ventura High. So we both got to play together our last, years at Cal State Monterey Bay. And so that kind of was a partial influence of my decision, was being able to also play with a very close friend of mine, knowing that I'd have like some support system. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely important. And then you ended up at Northridge. So was that like at some point you decided you were ready to leave Monterey Bay and then go down?
Yeah, I played Division 2, I'm sorry, for 1 year. And I think I had a conversation with myself, like I wanted to move back closer to home. And my families were very tight, but my parents have always been like, go and experience, and you can always come back, and I wouldn't say I wasn't ready for Division 2. If I had to do it all over again, I probably would have went into a lower division. It's very time consuming. It's it's a different level. And then I didn't, like, you played and you won and you practiced and it was just a constant scheduling, and it was a lot. So, but I will say one thing that was so cool from there was that's when I learned about like kinesiology and human performance from this amazing instructor of mine. She's like, you can get a career in this. And I was like, what? You can sweat and exercise and get paid at the same time? Like, okay. So then that's when I decided to come back, and I called Sandrine and I was like, hey, like, it's not working out here. And she said, G, they call me G. They were like, you got to do what's best for you. And you got to figure out, again, okay, G, like, what do you value? What do you want to do with your life? And I'm like, I want to go to Northridge. I want to get in the kines program. And then that's when she asked me to assistant coach with her. So I did that. I assistant coach with her for 5 years with no pay.
Wow. And you were driving back and forth to Northridge, all the way to Santa Barbara.
Ventura, Northridge, all the way to Santa Barbara. But it was an opportunity. So again, now my athletes, my future, like as you get into college, is you want to start building up that resume, right? And so I did it, and I did it with no pay for 5 years. And I got married during that time, and I had my son. He was 6 months old. He was literally raised in a gym at 6 weeks. He'd run around SBCC, he'd get the balls. He'd run the scoreboard till he was like 9. Like they all knew, like, Gavin's running the scoreboard. So I was really lucky to coach under a head coach like Sandrine, who valued family too, because I wanted my kids around that as well. So went to Northridge, got my degree, coach at the same time, did a bunch of other jobs for SBCC as well, to get that experience, and then graduated from FPU.
So opportunity is a word that I hear you say a lot.
Yes.
So I just kind of want to dive a little bit deeper into like really what that word means to you. And even though, like, for instance, like an opportunity can present itself to anyone, and we think of like, oh man, but I live in Ventura and I got to drive to Northridge, and then I got to go back to Santa Barbara. Like, it's like you're using so much time in your vehicle. how did you see the opportunity with, and then you're getting married and now you have a son, like, how do
and
you,
I'm not getting paid.
and you're doing it all for opportunity. We'll call this opportunity.
Well,
So-
because of all that is where I'm at today with my jobs and what I do. It's full circle. So again, going back to my dad, it's like you got to see big picture. You got to see full circle. You can't just always see like tunnel vision, like, okay, well, it's right here, and like, how am I going to make this work? If it's, I've always been taught too, if it's meant to be, things are going to fall align. Again, going back to what you value and what your direction is and what your goals, it's going to eventually align in, but it's also going to be about doing the work. Opportunity is about doing the work, even if you don't get paid, even if it's going to be a struggle. And it also develops a great work ethic. Now, if you tell me to repeat that now, I'd be like, you're crazy. Like, how would I don't even know. Like, on 4 hours of sleep, I don't even know how I just did it. But it was also that being an athlete, I'm very competitive. I have an internal drive. We have that internal motivation. We want to be successful in our games and in competition. And that still stays in me today. And so I was like, I can do this. And I've had many opportunities. I never said no, when sometimes maybe I should have said no. But as I continue to build my resume and I've gone to job opportunities, they were like, you've done a lot. And I'm like, well, my mentor said when an opportunity comes, just say yes, we'll figure it out together. That goes with your support system too when these opportunities come, is and having that support system and that mentorship that'll help guide you. You know what I mean? And also being a minority, okay, opportunities coming my way, I'm going to grab them because I also want to show other people I look like you too, and I'm doing this, and you could do it as well. You know what I mean? And so that's another reason why I do it as well, because I also mentor a lot of other student athletes and the future generation coming up as well. It's like I want to pay it forward to them that you can do it, and it is hard, but it also goes back to like loving what you do, right? So coaching, I had to really, I'm like, well, God, I really love coaching because I'm doing it for free for 5 years and I'm taking out mileage on my car. I'm like, yeah, I love this game. I love basketball. I love athletics. And so I was like, this is the environment that I need to be in. So when you get that opportunity and you're in it, and if it's working for you, you're like, okay, I'm loving this. Like I can do this. Then you're in the right place. But not all opportunities are best for you, right? Sometimes you got to pull back and be like, okay, that was a great chapter in my life. I'm done with that. It was a great experience. I learned from it, and I'm going to move on.
Yeah, I like that you mentioned that because like you said, like an opportunity, like you also mentioned the word love within your opportunity, right? Like you love sports, you love athletics. So it keeps you involved in something that you love. So to you, the opportunity is like, man, this is amazing. Whether there's an opportunity that can present itself, it's like, well, I really don't like that. It just sounds like a great opportunity on paper. So like you said, it's kind of going back to like, what are your vision? What are your goals? Like having that, you know, circle of support to kind of help you break it down to really seeing like what it is that, you know, you see the value in this opportunity, right?
Yeah.
At the same time. So I love that and knowing that. And so did you always know you wanted to go into teaching at the college level, like while you were coaching at the same time at Santa Barbara City College?
Well, it's so funny that you mentioned that because I was going in teaching just when I was academically in the Canadian program at CSUN. And I was in the department of K through 12 PE. And I had done a couple classes and I was like, I don't want to teach little ones. Like, I love my babies, but I don't know if I have the patience. Like I wasn't feeling it. And so talking to my mentor and one of my advisors, they were like, well, you're already coaching at the city college level. Like maybe you go into sports studies or general studies of kines and then go get your master's in physical education. But again, I had an opportunity when I was with Sanjarine and I was at Santa Barbara. I got to intern even our fitness center. I got to teach spinning classes when my director handed me a book on spinning and were like, you're going to teach spinning. I was like, ha, like, I'm an athlete. If there's no ball in front of me, I'm not going to run and I'm not going to spin. Like, it's just, and my mentor, Sandrine, said, you will teach these classes in this fitness center because it is an opportunity. And I knew I always loved to help people. And I coached my first like little league or my little basketball team. I think I was like 16. So I knew like coaching in some type of way was going to fit in my life, rather it was coaching basketball players or coaching. I say with my students that I teach in my PE classes, like, I'm your coach. I'm your coach throughout this semester to help you towards a healthy lifestyle. I'm coaching you through the process. And so I transitioned to general studies, and then I did get my master's in physical education. And then during that time, I had opportunities to teach, intern in different classes like cardio kickboxing and strength training. And I ended up getting my own spinning class. That was my first class I taught like on my own. I had a roster and a syllabus, and I made it, and I made it my own before Peloton came around. I was using weights on the bikes already, and we were doing boot camps, and I made it me, you know, again, going by what I value and what I believe in. And I coached, and I started coaching with Sandrine during that time too. Another 4 years. Mm-hmm. I did that as well. And then I had to say bye to coaching and venture out. Because again, going back to like, in order for growth, sometimes something has to end. And that was hard for me because we get comfortable, right? Like I was comfortable. Those were my people. Like, that's my environment. I'm a product of this college. Like, I really was. And I had to leave that to then be able to have more opportunities. And that was one of the hardest decisions, was to leave, stop teaching there, and to stop coaching with my best friend, you know? So, yeah.
Yeah, I think when you mention having to let go, right? Like, not only in, like, we can see that in sports, like even when I stop playing and I'm like, oh man, like, where's the camaraderie at, the teammates, the practices, like, you miss that stuff.
Yeah.
I know I would still like try to keep myself around it still, even though I'm like, I'm not even on the team anymore. Yeah. But understanding that, but I also think of like so much of what you're sharing, like I think of what you're saying in terms of like, not just sports, not just like career, but this is like relationship stuff too, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is like me. Sometimes there is another opportunity and I need to grow as a person. Like, it really is not you, it really is me. Like that saying goes, like, it's not you, it's me. It's like, it really is. And so,
because we get complacent, right? We can get too comfortable.
Right.
We get complacent to where we may get a mindset like, we do know it all. Or like, I don't need your input or your advice. And we get very comfortable. Mm-hmm. And I had to self-check myself like 3 years ago, because I sat with Sandrine and I said, there's no growth here for me. Mm-hmm. I'm okay with just showing up. I'm just showing up. I'm not putting the effort. And you need that sometimes in your life. And that means you have to be done with something to have more opportunities.
Yeah. And that's good. Like, so, you know, anybody listening to this is like, always be able to like reflect on like our current situations and just seeing like, where am I at? How am I growing? What is the effort I'm giving in this particular situation too? Because I can also say a lot as to where my growth may need to come within myself in order to give more to me at the same time. And then while you were coaching and even teaching, was there a particular group or class, whatever it may be, that challenged you and then allowed you to become like, helped you grow and become a better person or coach or educator?
Yeah, there was a lot. I think something that I learned too was that not every athlete can be coached the same. I learned that earlier on with my coaching, and that how I was coached wasn't going to play in with the athletes that I was coaching. The way that I was coaching, how I did, I had to separate that. And I had to really know my players individually on to aid with coaching to the best abilities. I don't think there was any particular team that did it for me. Or moment, I would say. What's so cool is I've coached so many different teams, and they all have different personalities over the years, and I still talk to a lot of them today. So it's fun. It's funny when we talk about all of our little like older conversations and little fights that we had as a coach and athlete. I would say coaching really also helped humble me too at the same time, that I don't know everything even as a coach, and to actually hear my athletes with their concerns and with their needs, and going back to like how we're talking in the beginning, is that they're just not a student athlete, but they're a person, you know. I think there was one year me and Sandrine had a year. We had this really chaotic year with a team where it did question if I really wanted to do this anymore. But we had that support with each other that kind of helped us persevere. But there's been many moments. Yeah. And again, having a step away from coaching was really hard, but I knew it was time right now for me. You know, would I go back to it eventually? I really would love to. But I also needed to get the teaching part under my belt as well. So that's what I've been kind of doing during this time. Yeah.
Gotcha. And then you mentioned, like I mentioned in your bio, is that you focus like on as a health educator on to teach from a holistic approach. What does that mean to you exactly?
So I'm really about like the mind, body, and the spirit connection, which is basically is having those like inner conversations with yourself on like, why do you want to be healthy? Like going beyond looking good and all that stuff. And really basing it off of like, what do you enjoy doing? So with my students, I give them a little bit of everything, and I want them to find something that they want to come back to. So I tell my students all the time, like, if you don't like running, why are you running? If you don't like lifting weights, why are you lifting weights? Try Zumba, try yoga, try kickboxing, try CrossFit. Like, you got to figure out what you love to do, and you have to get out of that comfort zone in order to make you want to come back. And so that's how I kind of teach from that approach, is really giving them opportunities in my classes so they can figure out what best fits them and what they enjoy coming back to. So I teach like a women's conditioning class, and we do strength training, cardio, kickboxing, we do yoga, we do Pilates, we do tons of things. And then they figure out like, oh, like I really enjoyed strength training, or, oh, I really enjoyed cardio kickboxing class. So after this class, I'm going to enroll in a cardio kickboxing class. And I'm like, great, because you're enjoying the process. I want movement. Holistic approach is also enjoying the movement and the process with it. It's not just doing it just to look great, right? We all want to look great. That's awesome. But we also want to feel good. And also looking at exercise as a stress relief, right? Is that when our mind's right, everything seems to kind of connect with each other. I mean, it's truth. When we're stressed out, it affects our digestive system. We have aches all over our body. And so I always go with the approach too with my students is like finding exercise or a exercise that can help you relieve that stress. And that's one reason why I still do it today. And like you said, right, we've been athletes our entire life. And then one day we just stop and we're like, well, what do we do? Like, we still have to be active, like, because we've been doing it since we were little, and then, but we're not on the court anymore. So I was like, tell my students all the time, I was like you, like, I had to figure out what I like to do. Who would have thought it'd be a bike? Who would have thought it'd be Pilates and yoga? Like, I teach yoga. Like, if you would have said do yoga when I was 18, it'd be like, do you even sweat? Like, because I want to sweat, you know? Right. And so, that was like a transition for me too, was like finding activities that I'd like to do without a basketball. So, you know, I try to teach from that approach. I try to also holistically to help develop an internal motivation to want to continue to move their body and to have fun with movement. And also that it's not one size fits all. Like, what works for me or what works for your partner next to you that you're lifting with isn't going to work for you. You got to figure out what works for you, physiological wise, physical wise, mental wise, because we're all different, you know. So I like one of the first things I say in my classes is like, this is a judgment-free zone. No one's perfect. Don't be comparing yourself to how someone moves compared to you. We all come from different stages of physical activity. And this is your time. This is self-care time. So that's the approach that I try to do with my students.
I love that, in terms of like, you know, coming forth with having fun and also trying new ways to move your body. And like you said, doing what you like to do, right?
Yeah.
Like, because I think we see so many things like, oh, well, this person does this in order to, goes back to looks like this or lose this, whatever, or gain this, whatever it is. And it's like, well, that's not fun to me. And I'm like you, when I was 18 and someone's like, you should do yoga. I'm like, yoga? Like the way I get in like cardio is like, I need to be moving. Like I love being drenched. And then I'm like you now too. I love spinning, you know, I feel like it's the most efficient way for me to actually sweat fast and just do everything I need very quickly. So it is about like looking for new opportunities, because even my body, like I'm not the same 18-year-old anymore either. So for me, like I put so much pound to the ground on my knees. It's like, I'm not going to keep pounding my body in that way either, because thinking long-term, like I love to travel with my partner. And when we travel, we walk, and I want to be able to keep doing those things. And so I have to look for like low impact.
Yeah. And walking is so underrated, FYI. Like, it's so underrated. Walking can change your life, you know? So, but you're right. Cause as we get older and being previous athletes, right? So knock on wood, I've never had any knee injuries, but, you know, I've had lower back issues and had to figure out, like, after having 3 kids, like my body's I'm not 18 anymore. It's different. It's gone through giving birth to 3 children. It's gone with intensive playing at division this and just pound, right? And so now it's about maintenance and also, you know, longevity, like living longer for my kids, healthier. And so that's kind of how I take the approach too, is like my kids know, like after when I get home from work, they're like, there's your spin bike. There's your spin bike. Like, and then my son will be like, did you not work out today, Mom? Because they, you know, I always tell my students too, because I have a lot of students that are like, well, how do you do it? Like, how do you work out? And then you teach. And I'm like, oh, I make it a priority, because I can't be 100% best mom to my kids if I'm not mentally here, like checked. And I'll be agitated, I'll be irritable, I'll, you know, whatever it is. So like, I got to get this straight before I can be the best mom or wife or daughter, you know, to whoever. So it's important for me. And that's something that we value in my household. Like, movement's big in my house. And so, you know, my kids will be like, I just need to go outside and run around. Go, do it. If that's going to make you feel better and you need to just take that stress out, go and do it. So, I try also use movement as joy and as a tool for my mental health state, you know? So that's why I grind on that bike.
I love it, because it ties into everything that you've been sharing, you know, from the beginning of our conversation, in terms of like looking for opportunity and growth. And we're always growing and evolving and looking for new opportunities that help serve us internally, mentally, spiritually, all those great things. So I really love that you're sharing that. And then going back to like I want to learn a little bit more, and I want you to share this too. You have the academic student athlete success program at Oxnard College. And so what does that look like? Like, what does that program actually do, and what is it for the student athletes?
So this program, we just started this last semester, which was guided and mentored by a great friend of mine at Santa Barbara City College, who has the program there as well. And it's really about providing mentorship for our student athletes, academically and socially, helping our student athletes fine-tune those academic skill sets that they already have. They just need to be fine-tuned a little bit. Helping our student athletes being college ready, because coming in as a freshman, right, going back to those questions we were asking, like if we're on a recruiting trip, what services do I have access to? What can I utilize on campus? And so what this program does is my main focus was to meet with all my student athletes this semester and really get to know their stories and look at the areas where they're struggling academically. I'm not a tutor, but what I can do is I can provide them, okay, you're struggling with math, this is your GPA. We need to utilize the services in the Learning Resource Center. Oh, wait, I can utilize that? Yeah, of course. Let me take you there. Actually walking them over to the services. Because I'm going to tell you something. When I was a student athlete, I just stayed in the gym and the PE building. That's where I hung. I didn't go to any other buildings unless it was for a class, right? So taking them over there, introducing them to the head individuals of those departments or the directors to say, this is so and so, he or she plays for our team. This is, doing those introductions. So that's part of what we do. Another part of what we're trying to aim for is flagging those student athletes before it gets worse, right? So I want to engage with student athletes at the GPA of 2.5. I don't want to get them at 2.0. I want to prevent not being eligible. I don't want to have that put upon them. So I really try to go in at a 2.5 to, again, help them access the services and resources they need to get back on track. Also part of the mentorship is the ones that need some more help, that are maybe at a 2.5, or if they're failing a class or they need more assistance, they meet with me on a weekly basis. And our mentorship appointments are super cool. Like, we don't just talk about math and science. Like, we talk about life. Like, what are you going through? What are some of the time management challenges you're having right now being a student athlete? Those are true conversations that we're not having enough of. What influences are preventing you from being successful? What are your goals? We go through the SMART goal theory. SMART goal theory is our specific, measurable, attainable, in a timely manner. We set goals with them academically and athletically, and sometimes personally. We also talk in our mentor meetings, just a check-in. Hey, how are you doing today? How's your week going? And then sometimes it's like, oh, coach, like practice, like, and we'll have those conversations too. But it's just doing like a self-mental check-in with me too is a huge part of this program. And then another thing that another goal we're striving for is retaining. So keeping our students athletes there for 2 years and making sure they're on the path of graduating within the 2 years after they're done playing, being eligible to then move on, maybe play at the next level or just go academically. Mm-hmm. So we've been doing these audits of just like, who's qualifying for graduation, who needs more assistance in here to get to that point. And then also building a community, building an athletic community so that they can engage with each other, and you'd be surprised. Like, once you get them in a room, they're like, it's all loose. Like, they're just like, hey, it's great. And so just building that community amongst our athletic program is something too that I really want to focus on, and to where they feel valued and to where they feel like they have a voice, and to recognize them. Like, that's another thing, is like, I want to recognize them. Like, I've had some student athletes like say, like, I don't know if I want to walk in graduation. You know me. I'm like, what? This is like the best. You're gonna walk and we're gonna get a stash and we're gonna, like, it's a celebration. Like, what you did to graduate in 2 years, that's hard work, and that should be valued and that should be recognized, and you should be proud of that. So I had like 3 of them that didn't want to walk this spring, and then they ended up walking, and they like sent me an email like, thank you, Mrs. G. That was like the best experience that I would have missed out on if I hadn't had a conversation with you about that, And so so that's what the program offers. I'm kind of a middleman between the services on campus and the athletic academic counseling services, and like even my AD and with the students. So I kind of bridge that gap, And I always tell my student athletes, I wish there was a program like this when I went to college, because again, my freshman year, like, I didn't do very good. Like, I was on almost academic eligibility, like, because I didn't know, I wasn't college ready. I didn't know how to study. I didn't know how to manage my time. Like, and I always use myself as an example because I'm not perfect. I had to learn. And so if I had a program like this to get me at my 2.5 before I dropped, to almost to a 2.0, then I wouldn't have been drowning. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and obviously when I got older and you start paying for college on your own, you start getting straight A's. So, so that was like, I was like, wait a moment. I'm like, oh, okay, yes. Now this is serious. No, it's always been serious, but like, I had to learn the hard way with that. And so I always, again, talk to my student athletes like that. Like, I struggle too, but with the help, I got right back on track. So that's what the program offers.
I love that. And like you said, it's that extra support that you're getting and like filling so many different holes as well. Because I feel like it's so important to have that as a student athlete, because you can build different connections with different people for different things. And
Yes.
So it's not only just having like, okay, I only have my coach or my teammates or my parents or whatever that is. It's having like so many different like pieces of support around you that, okay, I can go to this person when I need help with like figuring out like, okay, how do I get to the next level? I want to go to this college, and
yes,
how am I academically eligible? And does this college even have my program? Like, can you help me even figure those things out? So,
and that's the thing that I try to do is like my sophomores that are going to be coming in this year, because again, this was the first semester we did it, is I want all my sophomores to bring in a list of the colleges they potentially want to go to, and for us to look more into those and more in depth for them to say, is this going to be the right fit for you academically and even athletically? I think I've had some great conversations too this last semester with asking them like, what are your career goals and what are your goals? And a lot of them were like, just play whatever it is. And it's like, ooh, that's going to stop at one time, at whatever age, 23, 24, 25, it's going to stop. But then you always have your academics or a training or something, because once the sport stops, what else are you going to do next?
Ooh,
and so that's like a big question for them, and they don't know how fast it comes by quickly. I've had a student athlete was like, I have no idea. And I was like, well, let's look at this. Let's look at the fire academy. And he was like, whoa, like I'm like, yeah, you got your AA, you can go into this. And so again, it's just someone to kind of revalidate like them, like, okay, like these are the opportunities that are in front of you, and these are the resources on how to access in order to get there. So that's like my hope for them. Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you've been doing a great job, not even just starting with this program like at Oxnard College. Like, you've been doing this since you started like teaching, and even leading by example with breaking down your walls as a freshman, at college. So you've been doing that already. And I want to shout out my nephew right now, because he's making these comments. And Tyler, I love you, and I'm so glad you're watching this interview right now, because this is for you. He's going to be a freshman next year, starting his school year, and he plays sports too. So this is the perfect conversation for you to be listening to, taking notes, because I'm going to quiz you and ask you, did you watch the whole episode with Melissa? So now you know Melissa, and he's in Ventura too. So,
okay. I'm right here.
So he wants to continue playing sports, and everything that you're dropping, all these gems that you're dropping is amazing. So I love what you're talking about. And then going back to like the support that you're giving, like for the student athletes, and then also seeing like the student body as a whole, and for college students in general, like not even if they're in athletics, like, are there some challenges that you notice that you see a lot of like college students have? And then like, are there any solutions that you have as well to share?
I would say, this pandemic has brought a lot of challenges amongst all of our college students, whether if you're an athlete or not. But some of the top ones that I've seen are, I know like they're so random, but it's actually a huge issue on most campuses. It's food insecurity. Is a huge issue and topic concern of students, all students. And so I know a lot of like Cal State Channel Islands, we do like the Dolphin Pantry. I know that Oxnard College has started like a basic needs program to help feed our students. There was a survey done at all all Cal State in California universities, and food security was the number one issue that students have today. And so I know the universities that I've been working for have really tried to harp on that. The second thing that I would say has been a top concern of mine among my students and my student athletes is mental health, and not having coping strategies on how to deal with stressors in their life. And so one of the classes I teach is a nutrition, exercise, and wellness class. And we talk about the 9 dimensions of wellness. And we go into understanding our coping strategies and how do we cope when we're angry? How do we cope when we're sad? How do we cope when we're anxious? And a lot of my students they don't have any strategies at all. And so they can become really overwhelmed. And so I see mental health decline in a majority of some of my students. And so that's where I really try to intervene and try to help them access resources to assist in those areas. I think another thing that I would see that's probably just everybody's type of issue is time management. Amongst my students and my student athletes is creating time management from the get-go. Like what is time management, and how what are ways and tools to help assist in those areas? What are priorities and what are not priorities? What are wants and what's your needs? And so I can see that a lot of students put on a lot on their plate, and they don't manage their time good enough, and things are due late or forgotten, or it's just, so time management is definitely something that is one of my focus that I really bring to my students in the first day of the semester, is talking about time management. And then, so those are like the top 3 that I would say. Yeah.
And then with like the food pantry type situations, just have a question. Are these programs donation based? And another question that I have in regards to that is, who do I need to go to know that this program exists?
Yeah, those are really great questions. So some are donated based. I know Cal State Channel Islands, I'm not sure Oxnard College, we work really well with CalFresh. And so our university and most universities have a rep from CalFresh there that can assist with student athletes getting assistance for food through government assistance. There's a rep there, and they go in there and they talk to the rep and they see if they qualify. So some are donated based. We have local farms in Ventura County that donate their produce to our students at Cal State Channel Islands. Now at Oxnard College, it's part of our basic needs program. So there's grants that have been funded for these programs for food insecurity and assistance, because it's a number one issue. And so we also work really well with Food Share. I know too. So I had a bunch of students that I would run a class, and they would do their hours of, it wasn't volunteer, it was learning service for Food Share. And so Food Share usually goes up on campuses and again helps them with CalFresh and getting assistance with that. Now, if you're a student and you need help there's some food security, or you need some assistance in that area, it would definitely, the first place to go is to student services and ask somebody at the front desk, who can I talk to about getting some assistance for food or for food insecurity, and they will direct you to the individual there's at least one person on campus that's in charge of that.
Okay, gotcha.
Like a huge thing. Yeah,
that's important, because even not just with food insecurity, but so many things, it's like you don't even know where to start, and like a campus can seem so big that you're like, okay, it says student services, but is that really the place I need to go? Or like, and then there's also that fear of like, do I feel embarrassed to even ask that I need this program too, right? Mm-hmm. Or that I'm looking for help for this particular reason. That can be another thing that, comes in, like, just like, oh, I don't, is someone going to see me? Is someone, a peer going to overhear that I'm looking for this center? Different things like that.
And you could also, if you ever meet with a counselor, like let's say you're getting advisement for the semester, you can always ask your counselor in privacy, like, this is my situation. Do you know the resource that I can go on campus that would aid or help me with food, or some cool stuff we do at Cal State Channel Islands is we just do these random like food shares, like CalFresh or Food Share will just come up and they would just like start cooking for everybody on campus. And it's kind of cool because like everybody's like free food. So like, you know, you go and you eat great food, and then that's actually an opportunity for them to be like, "Hey, like, how's it going for you? Do you have food insecurity? Can we help you?" So that's a way they've done some outreach. I know at Cal State Channel Islands too, like our food pantry is awesome. It literally started like 7 or 8 years ago or 6 years ago, and you go in there, you just have to put your name down. And you get to choose a certain amount of items, and they can come back, I think, like in 2 days. The only reason why they do that is they log to see, like, okay, what are they running low on? What are we need more of? And that's even like toilet paper and paper towels and even things like that. We even have a really cool service on campus that provides clothing if you're looking for nice clothing for interviews, because our students don't have the extra money maybe to buy a suit or whatever it is. So we have a bunch of suits and nice work attire that have been donated to our student body. And so again, some of our students are aware and not aware. I make it a mission in my class. That's like the first thing I talk about is my dolphin pantry, my condor cafe. Like those are always that I talk about with my students. Like if anything, you come to me and I can direct you. Yeah.
Gotcha. So if anyone is attending Cal State Channel Islands or Oxnard College, go look for Melissa Gutierrez-Jimenez because she will guide you to the right place. It doesn't matter if you do not have a class with her, you just have to find her in the directory and email her. And
yes.
She has the answers for you. And, you know, she really wants to help. I can already see that. So, like, she is definitely a great contact to have, you know, for you in being successful at, you know, your journey, no matter what it looks like. It's like it encompasses so many different things, but it's finding, like, once again, those support people that you can go to that can share resources with you to help you be successful in what it is that you're doing.
Because you're creating that foundation, right? And so there's all these aspects. There's like like if you're an athlete, and even if you're not, but there's like the athletic part, it's the academic part. It's the basic needs like food insecurity or getting resource for food. Like that's huge. It all goes together to create a foundation for that student athlete or even for the student. We started a basic needs program in our athletic department too, where we started stocking up on Gatorade and granola bars for our student athletes. And it goes like that. You know,
I believe it.
Yeah,
I believe it.
Yeah. So I mean, and you know, and then being an athlete is going from one place to the other. You know, you got practice, you got class, and then you have this. And so oh my God, that was a topic of conversation with a lot of my athletes this semester was like, did you eat? What'd you eat? Like time management. We would go through their planners. I made these academic planners. I developed them for my student athletes to even write out a schedule. They'd be like, Mrs. G, like, you want to know what time I eat? Yes, I want to know what time you eat. I want to know when you go to practice. I want to know when you wake up. I want to know when you're on social media. I want to know when you're Netflixing and chilling. I want to know it all because I need to know, where are you studying? When are you eating? You know? And a lot of student athletes, that's another area of concern, is they overlook eating. So definitely make sure you guys, there's resources out there that can assist with that.
Yeah, I definitely understand with the overlooking eating part, because you think you're used to just go. And yes, I want to share this with you.
This is my husband.
I know. I'm like, I gotta let you see this and put it up on screen so that you know the love he is showing to you. And Daniel, you're making her blush. That's amazing. That's great. I love it. I love the love.
He's funny.
So one of the things that I also wanted to just kind of get some information on, you mentioned like you were granted at Cal State Channel Islands the CIS Center of Integrative Studies, and that's using virtual reality to improve people with brain injuries, memory, and problem solving. Like, what can you share more about what that is? So once again, it's like there's just things that intrigue me, and it's like just share. So we're like, oh, what is this? You know?
Yeah, so I have a really good colleague of mine that came to me with this VR project, which is virtual reality, and she works with a community of individuals that have been affected by a brain injury or a spine injury and have lost maybe some mobility or any type of cognitive or motor development has been I wouldn't say delayed, but has been affected, and they're trying to gain back that movement or that cognitive skills back through therapy. And so she's been working with this program for years, and so she came to me with this idea because because I also teach a healthcare class, access to healthcare and things like that. And one of the things that we saw during this pandemic was a lot of individuals were limited with their physical therapy and occupational therapy, right? Because you couldn't physically go to see your therapist because of this pandemic. So she had this great idea of like, well, what if you could do it from your home? And what if we could implement virtual reality, like an Oculus or, into your phone? And so I was like, So she's really good with the social work aspect part. I have a really great other colleague that's really good with the computer science approach with all the technology, because I don't really know all that. And then my part was the physical part. So studies have shown that virtual reality can assist with firing certain neurons in your brains to help increase with motor development usage. So looking into that research, we said, well, what if we developed a program using Oculus where these individuals could do their therapy at home through their phone? And so this whole semester, the first one we did was a video was out by, when you're heading towards Malibu, like a hike. Mm-hmm. So when we were interviewing our brain injury patients, a lot of their concerns were memorization. So like the majority of them has short-term memory. Some of them were saying eye tracking was very difficult for them because it can develop headaches, colors. And so we did a trial run where we had one of our colleagues walk a trail and then put like fake birds that actually look like real birds, like flying through, a real runner coming your way. And we would be asking questions through the walk to the individual using the Oculus. What do you see? What do you see to your left? What do you see to your right? So it's also helping with movement, but it's also helping with cognitive and vestibular with eye tracking. So this project, that was the first film that we've done. We're going to start putting into a trial practice in the next semester and implementing it amongst other brain injury patients. And then seeing what they're so funny. They were like, we want Mrs. G kickboxing. But with virtual reality, you can only see like your hands, right? Like it's a first person position. So it gets really tricky. It's not like a mirror. Like, I think the Xbox has like a kinetic mirror or even the Peloton has one right now where you move and it tracks your movement mirror wise. Virtual reality is different. It's first person. So we've had some challenges, but we were able to get a grant and do some research with it. So ultimate goal is the people that don't have access. Another thing is too, this is really interesting in healthcare, is that you have these therapies, but a lot of them don't have access to transportation. And it's among minorities. And so we want to go in there and be like, you don't need transportation. You can do this from your home. And how much do these Oculus cost? Their virtual reality stuff now isn't very expensive. But if we can provide a program with physical therapists, right, that also can say, okay, you may not be able to come here, but we're going to provide you with this tool to do at home. Yeah. That's the ultimate goal.
That's really cool. Have you seen any results like with your first like trial run or?
So we did one trial run. Sorry. And the individual, we had some really good feedback. But the main trial isn't going to be until next semester because we have to get a bunch of like clearance and liability issues and things like that. But we'll know more within the next year. Yeah.
And are these actual the clients people who attend Cal State Channel Islands, or how do you become
no,
a member, if you're
the Brain Injury Center out in I believe Camarillo, and that's where my colleague has her connections at. She's been helping volunteer her time with that program out there for many years. And so she's that like social work aspect part of it, and she's a great grant writer. She's amazing. And then I got another, it's women too. So we're all three women working on this project together, which I think is like so empowering and cool. And so my other colleague is computer science, and like the stuff that she does, I'm like, it's just astonishing to me. And then I come in with the physical part. So pulling all our talents together and trying to make something that could be beneficial for individuals. Yeah, I used to work at Cal State Northridge Adapted Aquatic Center. And I worked with several patients that had strokes or spine injuries in the water. And it was so therapeutic for me. Like it was like there's no like connecting with someone in the water, because in the water, like you're weightless, right? Like you can move more freely. And so having that experience is something else that I brought to this project.
I'm so curious. It's like I just want to see it, like to see it in motion, because I'm like you're explaining it, but I'm such a visual person that I'm like, it sounds so interesting. Like I want to see this like in front of me, because it makes sense with everything that you're saying with access to transportation and just different things. And like, hey, I can rehabilitate in my own home.
In your own home.
And that's a game changer. It really is. So that's awesome work that you're doing. That's amazing.
Yeah, so we'll see if it takes off. I mean, we're not like here to make like a multi-millions. Like that wasn't the point. The point is to like, how can people access care from their home? And not all transportation is covered through health insurance coverage. So we have to make it accessible. And so this is maybe one way we could do it.
Gotcha. Well, Melissa, girl, woo, this is such great.
Go for 2 more hours. I have nowhere to be.
I'm like, this is so like interesting. Like, and then everything that you're sharing, like not only just for student athletes, but just the knowledge that you're giving for resources on campuses and questions that we need to be asking and things that we need to be looking for to utilize all these different tools. And not only the tools, the people like you who are on these campuses that really want to help other people. I feel like that is like the foundation of it all, right? It's like you have a love for helping people and seeing people grow and win in whatever it is that they do. And so it's just continuing to like find people like you and be like,
yes,
share, you know, pick their brain.
Yes. And just to be like, if anything out there, everyone that's watching is just to be comfortable. I mean, it's hard, right? Like it's hard to ask for help. And, you know, it was hard for me to do, but I think seeing someone that kind of looks like me or like gets me makes it a little bit easier. So if any educators are out there watching too, I think like that's the best way to connect with your students is to be relatable. Has been something that I have learned is just be relatable. Like take the time to know their stories so that they get comfortable with you to ask the questions that they need or to access the resources that they need. I went through this great grant mentor program this whole year, this last year. And that was something that was taught to me, is that not everybody's going to come for help. And sometimes you have to go seek it. You have to go seek them. And so that's a goal that I'm going to have. Then it's seeking them out, you know. But don't be afraid to ask for help. And if you get shut down, don't stop there. Continue to ask your questions. Continue on to the next person, because you never know what opportunity is going to come your way. Like that's the truth.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
The word of the day, opportunity. I love it. Well, I want to thank you, Melissa, for being on the Mind Right Game Type show. I mean, you just dropped gems, and most importantly, just so much love. And I appreciate that from you, from everything that you're sharing, and definitely taking in the word opportunity. And it's not just a word, it's like it can encompass so much more to help us along our journey. So thank you for sharing. And if there's any way you'd like people to contact you, please share that now as well.
Okay, do I put it on the chat or?
Oh, you can just say it, and then
okay.
And then I'll put it in the description of the video.
Oh, okay. So you guys are more than welcome to contact me through email. So I think it's God, I have so many, but it's Melissa Gutierrez2 at bccd.edu, or I do have an Instagram account. It's public. I try to promote like exercise and wellness. That's like always like my goal. And that's Mel_G_Jimenez. If you have any questions about exercise or wellness, or you want a little bit more about that, you're more than free to contact me that way. And Michelle, I think what you're doing is so great. I mean, I wish something like this was around when I was younger. Like, it's so beneficial to have these true types of conversations, because when I was around little, you didn't have these types of conversations. And so what you're doing is awesome. And I just think like it's going to grow, and it's also so beneficial for a student and a student athlete. So thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And I have a few more questions for you.
Sure.
So one is a fun one, just from your bio. I just want to know, what's your favorite Disney movie, and who's your favorite Disney character?
Ooh, my favorite Disney movie would have to, God, I watch a lot of them, would have to be The Little Mermaid.
Uh-huh.
And my favorite Disney character is Mickey Mouse. Like, he's the original. Like, you can't go wrong. Yeah. We go to Disneyland way too much, but it's our like, that's our coping strategy.
Okay.
Yeah, like my kids are like, let's go to Disneyland for a couple hours to like unwind. They love it.
Okay, yeah, that's a perfect way to like cope and let your energy out, run around, do all that stuff. So yeah, I love that one. And then I want you to name something, or what's something that you're proud of yourself about, that has happened last week.
Something that I was proud about that happened last week.
That you're proud of yourself about.
Myself about.
Yes.
Myself. Could it be with my like job, that I was proud that I did something for my job?
Yeah, that you did.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I taught my first like academic athletic yoga class. I designed it. So I've always taught yoga like on Zooms or with clients, but this is an academic course. And so I designed my own yoga syllabus in my course, and I was really proud of myself. I was really stressed about my first day, but my students loved it. And so I did go in like, this isn't your typical yoga. Like, we're going to sweat. So like, we do power yoga in here. And so I was proud of myself, because I was really stressed about that. Yeah. Because people are like, well, you've been teaching for so many years and you know what you're doing. I'm like, yeah, but this is different. This is like 35 students academic class. It's not like we're just hanging out, we're doing yoga together, over Zoom. So I was definitely proud of myself on that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Congratulations. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Shout out to that. That's awesome. And before we go, what are you grateful for?
One thing? God.
No, you can pick whatever you want. But what are you grateful for? What are you grateful for?
I'm grateful.
That's the question. Here it is. Finish this sentence. I am grateful for.
I am grateful for my support system, which is my husband, my parents, my mentors, my friends. I always say circles, better than rows. Like I have this support system, and it's not just family, it's friends, and it's colleagues, and if you can't hang in my circle, you gotta go. And so I had to learn that later on in life too, right? And so not everybody can fit in the circle. And so I'm so grateful for that unity of my people, because they empower me every single day. And I am grateful for the opportunities that have come my way. I've been blessed in that area. I'm grateful to my mentor, Sandrine, and just guiding me through it, even though it was like tough, it was tough. So I'm grateful for that. And I'm very grateful to be a mom. I am, like, those little ones have changed everything for the best. And they push me, they empower me, you know, because I want to do better for them. And so, yeah, I'm grateful for people like in my life. Like I got good peeps, and I embody everything that they tell me, all their recommendations and their suggestions and their guidance. Like I take it true to heart. So yeah, that's what I'm grateful for.
I love it. Thank you again, Melissa, for being on the Mind Right Game Tight show. Thank you everybody for watching. Check it out. You know, get your notebook ready when you listen to this episode. And even if you missed this episode, you can check it out here on YouTube under mindrightgametight.com. You can also go to the podcast. It's on Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts. Just search Mind Right Game Tight and you can look up this episode. Cool. And past episodes as well. But like I said, you want your notebook, your pen and paper ready. Maybe you need to send notes to somebody you know as well, like, and say, I need you to listen to this section as well. But thank you, Melissa, for being on the Mind Right Game Tight show. Treasure yourself and shine.
Bye.